So when I left Sycamore, I took a lot of the things that I had learned and I actually tried to start a software company. That company was called LEHTINIITTY, and that's kind of what I did through Brebuff and through college. And one of my mentors kind of told me that, there's two things that really matter to someone. It's their physical health, and it's also their financial health. So I always wanted to really make an impact, and I thought that maybe if the physical health wasn't my area, financial health could be interesting. So to start, it's gonna sound like cliches, but tenacity would be one of them. When you walk into a meeting and everybody is 3 times older than you are, you've got a tendency to not get taken very seriously. So there's something to be said for learning how to get your point across, learning how to be heard, and then when people do dismiss you because of your age, learning to keep going and to keep fighting for what you think is right. I would think the problem-solving aspect, which is central and core to not only what I do, but to really anything any job does. Right? I remember after school, I was a big part of Science Olympiad. That was always my favorite thing. And I credit kind of Sycamore Science Olympiad and Mr. Schuth, actually, with a lot of the basic fundamental skills of you've got to create some contraption, right? I don't care if it's a balsa wood airplane, if it's a bridge, or if it's a college savings trust type application. The skill set's the same. You've got challenges and you've got to create something to solve those challenges. So now what I do is I create software. But Science Olympiad is really what started me down that path of some more of the critical thinking elements and hear what some of the constraints might be. Here's how it should, here's the end result. I'm at 0, here's 10. Figure out how to get to 10. That's what I do, and that's what I think I learned at Sycamore.
Yeah, that's great.
I think Sycamore, quite honestly, was one of the hardest academic programs I've been through. I went from Sycamore, I went to Brebuff, which is obviously still a very good school, very challenging school. Went to Illinois, top engineering school, very challenging. But the workload at Sycamore was almost tougher and more strenuous than the workload at the other two. And that's something that when you're a kid and you're doing homework, you absolutely hate it. But looking back now, there's times where I'll spend 18, 20 hours in the office because the product has to launch and we've got to get through things. And a lot of that work ethic, I think, started in Sycamore, the way the homeworks were structured and the way it was kind of, there weren't really any points for effort, if that makes sense, which I think is very much like real life is, right? If I go to my boss and I say, well, I tried really hard, that doesn't really matter if the product was a success or not. That's what matters. And I think Sycamore was the same way, where there were a lot of resources for help that you could get if you needed it. But you couldn't come in the next day with a half, empty assignment and say, well, I tried real hard, but I just got kind of tired. That wasn't an option. So now at the office, I've got that same drive that was instilled here of you've got to get it done and you've got to get it done right.